Welcome back to another Film Geek Movie review. In just a moment, I'm gonna walk my happy butt over to the futon to check out the Netflix original Fear Street Prom Queen. Fear Street Prom Queen tells the story of a group of hopeful prom queens that are suddenly being pecked off by a masked murderer. It's a good old-fashioned 80s slasher. In fact, this film takes place in 1988, so I'm gonna definitely be judging this film on its authenticity of the time period, considering I was like 14 at the time, so it's pretty fresh in my memory, kinda. I am getting a little bit older. Things are getting foggy. They don't seem to come together like they used to. Just kidding, guys. I'm sharp as a tack. No need to worry. Sorry, what am I doing? Just gotcha. Just having some fun with you folks. This is another one of the films in the Fear Street series by R.L. Stine, or interpreted from R.L. Stine, whatever the case may be. But this one is not part of the Fear Street trilogy. This one is its own thing. It's a little side story. And to be perfectly honest, guys, I am really excited to get over to the futon and check this one out. And of course, you know who else is excited? My faithful movie companion, Haku, who is patiently waiting for me over at the futon. So it's enough of me sitting here jibber jabbering on. It is time for me to get over to the futon and check out Fear Street Prom Queen. Just getting done watching Fear Street Prom Queen, and guys, I enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun with this film. So let's get this started, shall we? Now, normally I do negatives and positives, but I really don't have any negatives personally for this movie. I quite enjoyed it, but I would have to say, if you're not somebody who really enjoys 80s, 90s slashers, you're probably not going to find a lot in this movie, because this film is, I'm not going to say a perfect recreation of an 80s slasher film, but it damn near comes close. The director of this film, Matt Palmer, does an excellent job of crafting an 80s horror film, down to the way the actors even act in some parts of this. And that was one of the things that I was actually looking for. So if you're someone that does not enjoy these types of films, you're probably not going to find a lot here. This movie also, while it does have some funny moments, it's still comedy that plays on slasher elements and tropes and things of that sort. So what I'm trying to say is this is a slasher horror fans movie, and not because it's insanely gross and gory and all. It's just because it's a very well made homage to those great horror films that started this entire genre. So needless to say, let's just roll into the positives, shall we? Let's talk about the recreation of the 80s slasher. They put a lot of detail into this film, and a lot of stuff down to even the soundtrack. This film relies on a really awesome 80s synthesizer soundtrack that takes you back to an absolute gem of something done by John Carpenter. And not even that, but the cinematography in this film is also very reminiscent of some of the stuff that John Carpenter did in the Halloween movie. Now, I know Halloween came out in 1978. Let's just don't worry about that right now. It is the granddaddy of slasher films, so obviously, if you're making a slasher film that pays homage, you're gonna pay an homage to the granddaddy of slasher films, and they do a great job handling it. Now, when I say homage, I'm not saying that they rip anybody off or anything like that. There's a lot of little neat pieces that you can put together that link different things to other horror films, other slashers, other prom themed slashers. There might be some Easter eggs for something like that. The film does an excellent job of crafting a film that would have been made in 1988. And I kept trying to figure out what about this movie was bothering me, and then it dawned on me. the actors do look appropriately aged. Now, in the old 80s slashers, of course, they would always hire 40-year-olds to play teenagers for good reason. But in this film, they actually have actors that do look the right age. And it was funny because it kind of took me out of the recreation element of it a little bit, something like that. But it was okay because they weren't trying to parody or spoof it. They were trying to make a movie in modern day with the sensibilities of that time period. So that's why I say it's not a perfect adaptation of an 80s slasher, because it doesn't want to be. It does want to be its own thing. And also, too, if you're somebody who is a fan of the Fear Street series, this is still a really good addition to that series. However, if you haven't seen the other 3 films, this movie is a good jumping off point. You can watch this movie and you don't really need to see any of the other films. Now, if you are someone who has seen the other 3 Fear Street movies, you will have a deeper understanding of what's going on, but you won't be confused if you haven't seen those films. There's just some shout outs to that series that connect this into the universe, but not that trilogy storyline. And I like the way that that was handled also. This movie also keeps it nice and tight. We like to see that, don't we? It is excellently paced, and it comes in at the hour and 30-minute mark. At no point did this movie that I feel like it was dragging along, or they were throwing stuff in to just kind of pad the film to get a certain amount of time. This movie utilizes that hour and 30 minutes thoroughly and well. This film crafts some good characters. Yes, they are tropes from other films and so on, but they still do a good job of fleshing them out. The kills in this film are also really excellent. They use a lot of practical effects when doing the kills. There was one moment that I did notice a little CGI blood, but it was really only used to really emphasize and make that even more ghastly of a kill. Now, this film doesn't go for gruesome, gory, I guess you could say, Terrifier level of kills. This one still stays within the good old 80s realm. Lots of blood spray, there's some pretty good surprises, but it doesn't really go over the top, and it doesn't taint you or get any kind of, what am I looking for here, gratuitous. It's not gratuitous, it's just good old-fashioned 80s splatter horror. So all in all, guys, I would have to say that this is a really solid Netflix movie. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just turn on your TV and enjoy this film. And I think you will. If you are someone who enjoys this genre, I think this is a really solid watch. So anyways, guys, that's what I have to say about that. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek, guys. If you liked what you saw here today, thanks for checking it out. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you liked what you saw here today. Don't forget to subscribe. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.